It is happening. We have multiple updates regarding the New York Knicks, and it is very clear what the next big announcement that the Knicks are going to make is this offseason. While we have other updates as well in regards to this Knicks coaching staff and the future of Tom Thibodeau's staff, well, Knicks fans are giving mixed reactions to all of this, and we're going to break it all down. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into things as we always do. If you guys are part of that percentage that isn't subscribed, this is the place to be for all New York Knicks content. We have the latest and biggest Knicks updates every single day. We are making videos throughout the offseason. You do not want to miss out on all the great Knicks content. But let's jump into it. Guys, the New York Knicks front office is closing in on one of the biggest storylines surrounding them this offseason. Arguably the biggest storyline surrounding them this offseason outside of all the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors. The New York Knicks have made it very clear what is next, and it is that guy right there, Mr. Mike Brown. Now, nothing is official yet, but it is very clear what the New York Knicks are about to do. They are going to, without a shadow of a doubt at this point, it feels like, announce Mike Brown as the next head coach of the New York Knicks. Now, CP the franchise mentioned, shout out Knicks Fan TV, that things can change, but barring any major turn of events, Mike Brown is on his way to becoming the 32nd head coach of the New York Knicks. Mentioned a few things that the Knicks want to see in their next head coach. Maximizing their roster talent, collaborative with the front office, big emphasis on player development given CBA restrictions, and there could be some Tom Thibodeau holdovers on the staff, but the Knicks also want a strong staff for Mike Brown to lean on. Now, this does not mean Mike Brown doesn't get to pick his old staff. However, we do know from Mark Stein that Rick Brunson, father of Knicks star Jalen Brunson, is expected to remain on the Knicks coaching staff. Same as expected for some of the other key holdovers from Tom Thibodeau's staff as well. I like this that some of the assistant coaches are coming back. It doesn't mean all of them are, but some of them certainly will, and I do think this is a good idea for the Knicks, if you ask me, because changing up everything could be a lot after making the conference finals, and a few guys will stick around, namely Rick Brunson, and I mean, look, that makes perfect sense. Obviously, Rick is the father of Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson and Tom Thibodeau were very close. Rick Brunson and Tibbs were very close, and evidently, Tibbs got fired. So, you don't want to upset JB by firing his dad, and it's not like Rick Brunson is doing anything that warrants him getting fired. He was the guy telling Tibbs it's time to sub out the starters, so I don't think there's any problem with having Rick Brunson on the bench still. I don't think he's going to be the associate head coach of the Knicks next year, but I do think he will play a role with this Knicks team and still have a say and a voice in the locker room as someone who's a former player and just one of their coaches on the team. Same goes for Mo Cheeks, who I do expect to be around as well. I would expect Mark Bryant to stay on the coaching staff as their big man coach, and then Andy Greer as well. I would not be shocked to see on the staff. I mean, even as far as Dice Yoshimoto goes, Yoshimoto usually goes with Tibbs. Same goes for Brunson. Same goes for Greer. But Tibbs isn't going to be coaching an NBA team next season or this upcoming season. Maybe never again. So there's a world where we'll see a few of these guys stay. I don't think all of them will. I think a select few will. The ones I want to see stay the most are, well, Brunson we know is staying, so I'm not going to include him because of that. But I do want to see Mo Cheeks and Mark Bryant specifically stick around. I think Mark Bryant is an excellent big man coach, and I think Mo Cheeks is an awesome coach as well. Two former players as well who will be good to have on this lineup while Mike Brown comes in, and obviously we'll make some changes. I imagine they'll let Mike Brown pick his own associate head coach. I do think there's a lot of noise surrounding James Borrego for good reason. If Borrego could jump ship and go to the Knicks, he absolutely would, because it would also set him up. Mike Brown's an older guy. It's not like he's going to coach the Knicks for 10, 15 years or anything like that. So Borrego would find himself in good position to get that Knicks head coaching job after Mike Brown retires from the sport, or if the Knicks evidently were to fire Mike Brown down the line eventually as well. Now, Knicks fans, they have had interesting responses to all of this. Now, when it comes down to Mike Brown, we're going to make this bigger. I did not mean to rhyme comes down to Mike Brown as well. But people are saying, so we have a 10-man rotation regardless. The two young guys playing in the rotation, you can only develop by playing. Some fans are asking about, or specifically the Mad Good Knicks show is asking about James Borrego and why he isn't getting that, but he will likely be the assistant. We're seeing he's more of an assistant. I feel the same way. Not too enthused about this. They are right to be careful. Mike Brown has been fired enough that you don't want to deal with any hangover. If he comes in here and tries to be Tibbs 2.0, he might get canned early. I was hoping it was Johnny Bryant, and it's just, yeah, I'm not going to read that second part of that bottom tweet. I'll give you guys a second to read it. All right, you can pause the video after that. I did not read that full tweet when I screenshotted that, so. But look, on top of that, we did see the response by Knicks fans as well to when the Knicks evidently opted to keep the assistant coaching staff around, and that was quite positive. Now, as mentioned here, where you hear that Tibbs, we're taking your hose to Mad Good Knicks Show agrees and hopes that Mo Cheeks and Mark Bryant stick around. I could not agree more. For the pay cut Jalen Brunson took, his dad can stay as long as he wants. I agree. I like Rick Brunson. He'll keep his son's head straight. I think that Jalen Brunson would be fine either way, but Rick being there obviously won't hurt anything. Jalen clearly likes having Rick there. Mike Brown approved this and will be named the Knicks coach tomorrow. Obviously, this was yesterday. And can't imagine a coach getting one of the biggest coaching jobs in all of sports and then being told, you can have the job, but you'll have to listen to your star player's dad. Well, here's the thing. I don't think anyone's saying that Rick Brunson is going to be the final say on really anything with this Knicks team, and I don't think he is. I think Rick Brunson's there as sort of a vibes coach more than anything else. The players like Rick Brunson. They do. Players do like Rick Brunson. They like being around him. Jalen Brunson likes being around him. Josh Hart likes being around him. This is a known thing. So the same way that there are guys who are there because they're good players, coaches, who usually are former NBA players, that's what Rick Brunson is to this Knicks team. And I think it's a good idea to have him around. I think it makes perfect sense if you ask me. And I do like seeing where this is going to go moving forwards. I have to constantly check my phone. I've said this in a bunch of videos now because if I see a Twitter alert, it might just be a group chat or it might just be obviously a massive Knicks move that I would announce in the middle of a video that it might not even be about. But you know how we roll. We're an Avalanche. But look, here's what we know. We know they like Mike, as the New York Post mentioned. And on top of that, just looking at everything, shout out to Knicks Feed for this on Instagram, friend of the show. He posted something about how Knicks fans will grow to like Mike Brown. Mike Brown did accidentally say Keegan Murray was single and then quickly backtracked because he was talking about how Keegan Murray's not only learning about just being a young player in the NBA, but also learning about just being a young adult because his life's a lot different than what it was in college. So Mike Brown, he's very, very funny, which is nice to have. The Knicks are about to complete the trio between KFC with Phil Jackson, Mr. Potato Head with Mike Brown, and the Pringles Man with Mike D'Antoni back in the day. So that's all fun. It's all fun stuff with Mike Brown. Knicks fans, they're split on all this. But I am interested in seeing where this goes and how Knicks fans are going to react once Mike Brown instills an offense. Because here's the thing. Here's the real thing about Mike Brown. To be serious for a moment, he is a phenomenal offensive head coach. He has blind spots, though, and that's something that I'm worried about come the playoffs. That being said, him and the Sacramento Kings did take the Golden State Warriors to 7 games, and the reason they didn't win that game against the Warriors is because one of the greatest players of all time, and by far the greatest shooter to ever grace the planet, went out there and shot like there was no tomorrow and had the greatest game he's ever had in playoff history. So I don't blame him that much for losing to the Warriors in that first round back in 2023. I just don't fully trust Mike Brown a whole lot. However, Celtics Digest creator and Suns Digest creator Bruce Velez did give me this that he mentioned, saying he's had a good track record around the league. Also, I think the situation between him and De'Aaron Fox is overblown, and it led to him being fired for no reason. Fox was going to be gone anyways and wanted Texas for months before the season had even started. After being the 3 seed and losing in 7 and then not making the playoffs the next year was his time to turn, but Sacramento wants to win and compete, so they wouldn't trade Fox, and that ultimately cost Mike Brown his job. There's also, in my opinion, no one better unless you get James Borrego or something like that, and the Knicks likely will get Borrego as an assistant. Again, I've said it before, I would rather Borrego be the head coach, but Mike Brown is going to instill a great offense. It's going to be fun to watch. They're going to play with pace. They're going to be a deep lineup that his teams never really play more than, no player plays more than 34 minutes a night. So Mikal, OG, JB, Josh Hart, Cat, Mitch, they're not going to get burnt out because we're going to see them go 10 deep usually throughout this regular season. We're going to see, obviously, Jordan Clarkson, Deuce McBride, Gershon Yabusele get a good amount of minutes off the bench. On top of that, we'll see, I mentioned 6 guys off the rip. So one of those guys ever comes off the bench, either Josh Hart or Mitchell Robinson. Maybe both if they end up starting Deuce, which I could see them doing because Mike Brown did run a smaller ball lineup in Sacramento. I mean, they'll get big minutes as well off the bench. Pacome Dadier could find himself with some minutes. Tyler Kolek, Ariel Hukporti, just depending on what the personnel of the roster looks like. The Knicks are going to make more moves. I do imagine Mohamed Diawara will be signed to this team later on for a bunch of salary reasons, and we will go into that on its own video as well. But it will play a factor, and Mike Brown's going to run a deep rotation that, yes, thins out during the playoffs, but that's what teams do, and I'm excited to see how that all works out, and I am excited to see what a Mike Brown offense looks like. I just don't want the Knicks to forget that they do have very good defenders on this team, because I do want them to be able to still be a good defense. Given the Sacramento Kings, that was an issue. They didn't have the defensive personnel to be great on defense. The way that the Knicks do have the defensive personnel to be great on defense and great on offense, the Knicks are far better than the Sacramento Kings were when Mike Brown coached them. And I'm interested in seeing where this goes. Again, I'd rather Borrego or Taylor Jenkins, but it's going to be Mike Brown. It certainly is. I'm interested to see what happens. What do you guys think about Mike Brown being the next head coach of the Knicks? I'd be shocked if he isn't at this point. It seems very obvious that he's going to get hired like today, July 2nd. So let's see what happens. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Have a great day, and go Knicks.